Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and I'm back for my first Washington football team talk, stream in a few weeks. So I'm excited to have on the Warpath on the channel. Make sure you guys sub up to him. His link will be in the chat right now, and if you guys are watching, on replay, his link will be in the chat as well. So make sure you guys go click that and subscribe to him. Great Washington football team YouTuber, does news videos, but also has a bunch of good interviews on his channel as well. So go ahead and check that out. What is up, Winter Nation? What's up, Eileen Frazier? What's up, James? Appreciate you guys for coming in. How you doing, Corey?
I can't complain, man. Thanks for having me on here, Pedro. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since you've been on your little hiatus
Yep.
and traveling the world. So it's good to be back on here with you, bro.
Yep. Really happy you're on. Let's see. What's up, Sergio7? What's up, Justin? What's up, Tyler C? What's up, B Nizzle? OG in the chat. Appreciate
Yes,
all
sir.
you guys for coming in. So, while we wait for some people to come on, and what's up, King Sean? We'll talk a little bit, obviously, about training camp because that is next week. Finally, or not next week, sorry, the week after that, July 27th. Really excited for that. So we'll start off with the Brandon Sheriff, kind of news, not really news, but Brandon Sheriff news. What was your reaction to, nothing happening with a new deal? And what are your, what do you give, what's your percent chance you think that he's back in 2022? Not necessarily on a franchise tag, but, a new deal.
Yeah. I wasn't really shocked because they've been kicking this can for now the second season in a row. I give it less than 40% that he'll be back next year with a contract. I don't think you're on franchise him for a third time. Some people, and I kind of mentioned this in my video yesterday. I'm like, people get caught up on titles and everything, and like he's an all pro, so you can't let him walk. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. You can't let him walk. He's oft injured. He missed 3 games last year. I get that he's going to be. Some people perceive him as a linchpin. A lot of folks don't realize this too. This is going to be his first year without Morgan Moses beside him. This is his first year. This will be his first year, full year without Morgan Moses being beside him. Now, Morgan Moses has played without Brandon Sheriff, but what if Brandon Sheriff without Morgan Moses? That's going to be a little interesting to see. And then kind of like what Jay Gruden said, he's just a guard, man, at the end of the day. So I think you're past your prime on getting anything for him. I wish we could get something for him, like a package deal for somebody or something, whether send him to Houston or Green Bay, where it looks like Aaron Rodgers is coming back. So that's kind of dead in the water. But I think this is the second failure of Ron Rivera in the offseason. Did it with Trent Williams last year, but you can kind of blame that a little bit more on Bruce Allen not to get anything out of Brandon Sheriff. I guess you're just going to recoup a comp pick here in a couple of years. But other than that, it is what it is, though, man.
I mean, I'll say this. I think the Trent Williams situation, obviously, it was 90% the previous regime. Would have been nice. Like, Ron Rivera did nothing wrong, and Kyle Smith, in terms of the value they got back for him, because that was just totally on the previous regime. My somewhat problem I had with it is it would have been nice to have him back, but Ron did not. If he thought Trent was probably not 100% bought in, and he was fine with, moving on from him. The Sheriff situation, I don't think he's just worth that much in terms of, like, he's a guard, like you said, and Ron has had him for 2 years, or this is going to be his second year. Last year, he was under contract for what, 14, 15 million? Like,
right.
the amount you're going to get in a trade package for a guy who is on a franchise tag, no one knew he was going to get franchised again. So if you're trading for him last year, you only have 1 year of control for an aging guard who is making $15 million a year, and who hasn't been healthy. So you really maybe at the most, in my opinion, you get a second. That's just my thoughts. I don't think you get a first, especially for a guy on a franchise tag with an injury history. And what I'll say with Brandon Sheriff, I think he's a great guard, and I do think he's an elite guard. But what I'll say is that there's a big gap between Quentin Nelson and Zach Martin when they're healthy, and then Brandon Sheriff. Brandon Sheriff is still one of the better guards in the NFL, but Quinn Nelson and Zach Martin are, a tier above him. And those guys, especially Quinn Nelson, since, he's still younger, Zach Martin's starting to get a little bit older, he's worth $18 million. Even though that's a lot for a guard, he's young, hasn't really had any injury issues, and is absolutely a monster. Brandon Sheriff is great, but I think it's just like you cannot be paying him, in my opinion, anything more than $16 million a year is just insane for me, because I know it's probably unpopular, but I would almost rather pay someone, and I know he already got signed, but maybe someone like Joe Thuney, just because Brandon Sheriff is a better guard, in my opinion, than Joe Thuney. But Joe Thuney hasn't really had many injury issues, and that's like a big thing with Sheriff. If he was able to stay healthy, then I would be willing to pay him a little bit more money than he is wanting right now. But I mean, he started off his first 3 years, he barely missed any games, and then the last three, it's been like what, 18? He played 8 in 2018, and then missed like, I don't know how many missed the year before in 2019, and then he missed like 3 last year. He can't be doing that if you're getting elite guard money. It's just, it can't happen, in my opinion. So if he plays a full season this year, healthy, and he plays pretty well, I still not willing to pay him, 18 mil, but I'm willing to up the offer by whatever, 500K a year, something like that. If he's willing to, sign that, then that's great. But if not, we got Wes Schweitzer, Eric Flowers, and Sadiq Charles, who, if, Eric Flowers and Wes Schweitzer can be serviceable starters, and Sadiq Charles, if he's healthy, I think he can be a above average starter in this league. Not as good as Sheriff, but still, a good starter.
Yeah. And then you kind of look at it too. Pro Football Focus actually went back and crunched the numbers on this. And if you look at all the starting all pro players, right, they made the playoffs last year. So, and you look at this Wyatt Taylor, who was in his first breakout year. He was second team all pro for Cleveland, right? And they just rank him as guard. Zach Martin, who played right tackle too and missed 6 games or 5 games like that. He was a right tackle and a right guard, so you really can't put him there. Quentin Nelson made it as a left guard. Then you have Brandon Sheriff. You got Joe Bonito, who was a left guard. Shaq Mason on New England, wasn't a playoff team, was a right guard. Ali Marpet, he was for Tampa, and he's a left guard. Lincoln Tomlinson, left guard, San Francisco, didn't make the playoffs. Chris Lidstrom, right guard, Atlanta, didn't make the playoffs. And then Joe Thuney, New England, didn't make the playoffs, left guard. So you got, I'm really, there's an argument here saying that it was a default. This was a default all pro. Like there's nobody else you could really go to logically. And logically, it was Brandon Sheriff. So, and that could be, people say, you're kind of poking holes in the argument there, but I think there's validity to that. That Brandon Sheriff, he's been high regarded guard for years. Why hadn't he been one? So that's just my thought. It is what it is, man.
What's up, Armin Brown? Appreciate you coming in. AGSTP003. What's up? What's up, Casper Hill? What's up, Dave Quavis? Appreciate you guys for coming in. Make sure to sub up Corey. And yeah, we will have to find a replacement for Sheriff. More likely than not, we'll see. Still a possibility he's back, but it's going to be interesting because I think you got Charles Leno at left tackle. He's 1 year deal. Who knows if he plays good? Morgan Moses type play. If he plays like that, I think they can bring him back for another year or two. and you're fine there. But also, I mean, Sadiq Charles is really the key for this because I just have no idea what they're going to do with him. And I don't think anyone does because, yes, you can say he's more a guard than a tackle. Or you can think he's the opposite. He's more a tackle than a guard. But the thing is, I don't think they know what they're going to do with him. I think it's going to be really injuries and just what they need because since he can play both, I think Sadiq Charles will honestly just play whatever they need him to play, whatever, unfolds for us. So if we have, a couple guards go down in training camp or during the season, then I think he'll mostly play guard. And if someone like, Charles Leno goes down, then I think he'll play tackle. I don't think they know what he's going to play. And I think it's going to be interesting, next year, not this year, but next year, when Charles Leno is likely gone, what they do with Sadiq Charles, Cosme, do they switch Cosme to left tackle and slide Sadiq Charles into left guard? I have no idea what's going to happen. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting. I think it is going to be Leno. And then I think on the left side as well, I think that it's going to be Eric Flowers. I think that you've got probably the best depth you've had at guard in a long time with Schweitzer and Sadiq Charles. And I've said this to you before. I just need to see a drive out of Sadiq Charles, and he's the most improved player going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, if Brandon Sheriff is gone or is hurt for a while, I think that I can live without him playing. Now, we have the record of being 38, 39 and 1 with him, and they're only 3-15 without him. So, there's that interesting point there, but I think you can break through there. So,
you're saying that's their record without Sheriff?
3-15.
Yeah, I think that is, partly, yes, he's important, but I also think like he got hurt right when Alex Smith got hurt in 2018, which obviously killed them. He was out in 2019 when we sucked anyways. Like that's when he got hurt as well. So I mean, there is some validity to that point, but still, I think it's more a coincidence. But one question I have for you guys, and we'll answer some questions a little bit later. But what do you think the Washington football team, at least for you, what do you think they have to do for this season to be a success for you? Is it a win improvement? Is it going from 7 to 8 wins? Is it, making the playoffs? Is it winning a playoff game or even more? What is it?
Winning a playoff game. Because we've seen them win a division. We've seen them go to the playoffs. We've seen them host a playoff game, and they've lost. You got to win a playoff game. They haven't done it since 2005. And I always ask people, I said, where were you back in 2005? Some of y'all don't remember. Y'all weren't watching it. I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school when that happened. And, that was I think that was the worst offensive performance in NFL history by a winning team in the playoffs. And I think Mark Brunell and the boys managed a total of like 125 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
It's bad. And
for me, I would say, I think for me, it would be making the playoffs with a winning record because I think obviously winning a playoff game would be a huge success. But I think, yes, they made the playoffs last year, but 7-9, in a very bad division. I want to see them win the division again, or it doesn't even have to be win the division. Let's say if Dallas has a great year, they go 12-5. If Washington goes 10-7 and they make the playoffs, for me, that's a step in the right direction. You won 3 more games, and if they win a playoff game, that's an added bonus. But for right now, it would be making the playoffs for me. And then obviously next year, the goal for me would be win a playoff game or find your franchise quarterback. Hopefully both, right? Hopefully both. Let's see. Rashad, appreciate the $2 donation. He said, Sub Pedro finally made it to a live stream. Love the content. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate the support a ton. Thanks for coming in. And yeah, I mean, got a lot of new people that sometimes aren't able to show up to the live stream. So if you're a first time viewer at a live stream, make sure you guys go ahead and comment below. Appreciate you for coming in, Rashad. So yeah, I think we'll see. I really do hope they make the playoffs again, because hasn't happened. When's the last time they made back-to-back playoff?
Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, like, they got it. See, that's why I think it would be a success, because you're showing some stability and sustainability 2 years in a row making the playoffs, especially if they do it with a winning record. But yeah, winning a playoff game definitely would be nice.
Yeah, man, it's gotta happen. And kind of like what you said, you can have a better. This team can be better on the record wise and not win the division, depending on what you get out of Dallas and what do you get out of the Giants. And let's be for real. I don't, unless Philadelphia finds a way to get that rumor of Deshaun Watson coming up there, that Philadelphia will be tough. But I don't think they're not going to be competing for this division.
Yeah, I don't think they will at all. If the only way is obviously, yeah, they get someone like Watson or someone else, or if Jalen Hurts looks like an absolute beast, which who knows, he could. But I wasn't that impressed with him last year. I think first couple games he was good. He was able to succeed because there's usually a pattern. The rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks that succeed early on in their career are mobile because they can buy more time and they don't have to read the defenses as quick, and they rely on their athleticism. So that's what he was able to do early on, but then the defenses started catching up with him, and he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great in my opinion. But if second year jump, we will see what he can do, and if he can take a big jump. Let's see. Winter Nation says, where do you or who do you think should start out at left tackle or right tackle? Or wait, what is that? Sorry, I'm not getting your question. But I'll go ahead. I mean, I guess if he wants us to say who we think starts out at left and right tackle, I'll say I think it'll be Leno and Cosme. But if Cosme's not looking ready, I definitely would not be surprised if Cornelius Lucas was the starter. But right now, I will say Leno and Cosme.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think it'll be Leno, and I think it'll be Cosme, and you'll have the swing tackle is going to be Cornelius Lucas. Where do you think Samuel Cosme should start out at?
Okay. Yeah.
Right tackle. Because that's why you brought in Leno. You brought Leno in at left tackle. So, there's an interesting thing here too, Pedro. You're not going to go into the regular season clean this year because you got preseason games. We didn't have preseason games last year. So people were going easy on each other probably in training camp more often than, you were hitting the same person each and every day. So I think that's something else that we might need to take in consideration too, is that trial by fire and that competition that you'll have in August.
Yeah, and I think that, one thing that people don't talk about a lot is that Cosme actually was a right tackle in college when he first got there. He was playing right tackle and transitioned to left tackle later on. So, I think a great way to transition into the NFL, start out at right tackle. If he succeeds, you can switch him over to left tackle if you don't have a left tackle for next year. That's what I would do if I was Washington, just because, like you said, we did sign Charles Leno, and he, got offers from other teams to play right tackle, and he did not sign there because they were asking him to play right tackle. He doesn't want to play right tackle. So Cosme a right tackle for this year, and if he's, if he looks good, then we can switch him over to left tackle next year. Let's see. You guys can put some questions in the chat we'll go ahead and answer some of those. So while we're waiting for that, Corey, what is one thing you're looking forward to seeing in training camp? One player. Let's say one player.
Let's go with John Bates. I want to see John Bates. I think this guy, a lot of people have been like kind of down on this kid. I want to see what he can do. I don't think he's going to blow the world up or anything like that, but I think he could be a reliable backup to Logan Thomas. And I said on Juan's channel last night that the backup tight ends last year combined for 3 receptions for 18 yards. That's awful. I mean, and it was all Logan Thomas. And so, you got to have some guy who can get like 20, 30 catches on the season for you. Maybe get in a couple of red zone touchdowns. And maybe this guy can do that. He's a former track athlete, a state champion track athlete in Oregon. So, in Boise State, there was some questions that maybe he wasn't used properly, but he did have some nice catches. And if he can do that at the next level, I think you've got a good compliment to Logan Thomas.
Yeah, and he's a good blocker.
Yes.
As well. So one guy I think I'm excited to see how they use him in the offense is Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really get to see much of him. Obviously, I mean, we didn't really get to see much of anyone. Obviously, in mini camp and stuff, we didn't get to see like that much because there's not that much during to do in mini camp. But he obviously was injured. But I'm excited to see what he can do this year, especially in training camp. How they use him in the offense. Is he on the outside? Is he in the slot? Is he in both? Which I think it will be the latter. I think he will play both. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I'm excited also to see how he helps out Terry McLaurin. So got a question here, and we also got a comment Michael said, and I always see him in my comments. Appreciate you for coming in here. Said rated R is my dude. Get him on here. Yeah, I mean I think that would be a good collab. HTTR for life. He's got a great channel, so we'll try to get him on here soon. Let's see. So Splitzery says, who do you think the starting linebackers will be? So I'll give you guys mine. This is tough. Okay, so I'll give you 2 different scenarios. One, if Jamin Davis is not ready to play middle linebacker, then I'll go Bostic, Jamin Davis, and Cole Holcomb. That's very easy. And I'll go Cole Holcomb at the Sam and Jamin Davis at the Will. If he is not playing that, if Jamin Davis cannot play middle linebacker, that's where it gets interesting. If Jamin Davis does play middle linebacker, that's where it gets interesting because Bostic, really, we haven't seen him play much besides middle linebacker. So can he play the Will? Can he play the Sam? Because if not, then you're going to have to put, Khaleke Hudson in there. So it could be, if Jamin Davis does start at middle linebacker, it could be Jamin Davis at the middle linebacker, Cole Holcomb at the Sam, and maybe Khaleke Hudson at the Will, or maybe still John Bostic can play that position. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Davis and Holcomb. I think Davis will be ready to go. I don't think that's going to be a question. I think he'll be ready to rock and roll come week 1. So I think you got Jamin there. I think, and then Cole Holcomb's going to be in there as well. And then it's kind of an interesting catch-22 there. Are you going to? I mean. The way Boston can cover the run, maybe you might be able to put him in there. How about Khaleke Hudson?
How about, like maybe, I don't know. Obviously, I haven't been watching David Mayo film. I don't know if he can play, like what linebacker position he can play. But, I mean, maybe this is one of, Ron's underrating offseason signings. Like last year, we had so many. This year, obviously there won't be that many because first we signed a few big guys, and also we didn't sign as many players. So this could be one of those guys that surprises us. And maybe that is David Mayo, and maybe he could start for us. If Bostic can't at the will linebacker position, I don't know. Let's see. Armin Brown said Jamin, Holcomb, and Kalik. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what our starting linebacker, room is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What do you think? How about receivers? We've talked about this a lot. We've talked about receivers, how many they're going to keep, who is it going to be? So, do you think they'll keep 6 or 7?
I think they'll keep 6.
6, yeah. I mean, that is going to be very interesting because, I mean, they got AGG, they got Harmon. Maybe they could keep, if let's say they cut Harmon, maybe they could stash him on the practice squad. I don't know. I don't think AGG will be. I think someone will pick him up that needs a receiver. I think you guys talked about this yesterday on Juan's channel a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, that battle between Harmon, AGG, and even Adam Humphries, those guys. But I think we know 5 that are more likely than not going to make the roster. In Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, Adam Humphries, and Cam Sims. If there's no injuries, I think those guys make the roster. And I know some people don't think Adam Humphries will make it. You don't think he'll make it?
Nope, don't think so.
You don't think he'll make the roster at all?
I don't think. I think he has. I don't think that's a guarantee. I don't think that's a lock.
But if you had to, let's say you had to bet $15, would you bet that he makes it or doesn't?
I'd take that bet to make him that he doesn't make it.
You want to make that bet?
No, I don't make that bet. I don't bet, but oh man, no, I don't think Humphries is going to make that. I don't. At the end of the day, I don't think he's going to make it. I think Dax Milne will make it over him.
All right, yeah. Anyone in the comments that wants to take that wager with me, I will. Let's see. The unknown ism says, "Does Jarrett Patterson make the team?" It's again, that's tough, and I think it's going to come down to how many receivers do they keep? Because if they keep 7, he's not. Jarrett Patterson is not making the team. I don't think so. If they keep 6, and then they decide to keep 4 running backs, I think Jarrett Patterson will make the team. But I mean, I think also it'll depend on Gibson's health heading into the season. If he's looking good, then if he's looking 100%, and they have no doubt, then they'll keep probably 3. I don't know how many running backs do you think they'll keep.
That's a good one. Because you got to think about it this way. What's your answer after Antonio Gibson? We saw JD. Yeah, like that's and I think that's the question.
Like you're saying if as a first and second down back.
Yeah, who's going to be, even if he gets hurt, who's going to be if that toe injury comes up again, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because I think, and I know some of the reporters kind of thinking more Patterson is going to be a third down back for them if he makes the roster. But for me, I think Barber is not a guy you want having more than 6 carries, in my opinion, in a game. You want him, 3, 4 carries, 5 carries, 6 carries at the most, in my opinion. You want Barber to have. No way you want him to have 10 carries. No. McKissick, if it has to be done, I'm fine having McKissick 10 carries, but still not the best option, in my opinion. Jarrett Patterson in college got 20, 30, 35 carry games. So I think that if Gibson went down, I think that would be their best option to get some carries, in my opinion. Or maybe also if Lamar Miller, Lamar Miller, he's just a total who knows, because if he's looking good like he was a couple years ago, that would be perfect for them as a third or fourth running back. If Gibson goes down, Lamar Miller can get 10 to 15 carries in that game with McKissick getting like 5 to 10 while Gibson's gone. I think that would be great. But who the heck knows what Lamar Miller, how he's doing, because he hasn't really played in like 2.5 years. That could also be a guy, because he has the ability. It's just if he's healthy or not.
Yeah, and I think I think what you're saying there is key too, Pedro, is what do you have with Lamar Miller, who I think isn't Lamar like almost 30, if not.
He's got to be 30.
Yeah. So I'm not going to hedge on a 30-year-old running back who hasn't played in 2 years. Yeah, he's 30. He turned 30 in April. So I'm not going to. I think he's just going to be there for camp body purposes, right? So I think you're legitimately coming down to we know Gibson, McKissick's going to be there, but McKissick, like we look at the Pittsburgh game, right? Passes. They had to turn it into a short passing game to get him the right touches. Now, you say 10 carries. I say maybe 10, 15 touches for him. And I think that's
for who?
For McKissick per game. That's
I was saying 10 carries for McKissick, or I don't know what I said, if Gibson is down.
Right.
If Gibson's down. Because ideally you want, McKissick to get 5-7 catches a game and maybe 5 carries. That would be good for me, because he does occasionally get a really good 10-yard run, or honestly, before Gibson went down, when he was just getting a few carries a game, he would usually get 6 or 7 yards on a couple of those carries, which was really key for us.
Yeah. And Peyton Barber is good in short yardage situations. But he's not going to be a feature back. And then Jarrett Patterson, this ain't Buffalo. This ain't the MAC. I mean, I get what he did in college, and the guy, so he's got a lot of mileage on him too. So that's my biggest concern for Jarrett Patterson. But if he can make it, if he makes the roster, I think he's going to be that guy by default. He's got to be that guy by default, don't you think? Because he's like he's probably the best back that could spell, who's used to carrying the rock like that. So it'd be interesting. And he's probably the most, next to Peyton Barber, he's probably the most traditional running back that Washington has on the roster. That probably is going to make the roster. Like I said, I'm not counting Lamar Miller. I forget about him all the time, so I'm not going to really count him on that listing. But
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of depth questions that the Washington football team has, including edge rusher, and hopefully, and probably it won't be an issue, their edge rusher backup situation. But if Chase Young goes down, Montez Sweat goes down, it's going to get ugly, because I don't want Casey Toohill or Shaka Toney or William Bradley King, or even James Smith Williams to start for us, multiple games. Maybe they could in a few years, but now they're not ready. You're really relying on 3 7th-round picks and Casey Toohill. I don't even know if he got drafted. I really, really think they need to bring in a veteran. There's so many, good edge rusher veterans available. Adrian Claiborne, Melvin Ingram, Olivier Vernon. I know those last two are a little bit more, high profile, and maybe they don't want to sit behind those guys, but still there's some really good options out there. And what's up, Talon Ho? Appreciate you for coming on. Yes, it has been a while, but appreciate you for coming in here. But yeah, what do you think about that backup edge rusher position?
I think that William Bradley King is going to be very interesting to watch in that whole situation, because he is in his draft process and his draft profiles, and even kind of on his film, it shows he's got some good moves. He has multiple moves in his repertoire. So it's going to be interesting to see. He was, before he made the jump to Baylor, he was at Arkansas State, where he was a Sun Belt Conference first team defensive player for 2 years in a row, and he just went up to Baylor as like the grad student and everything. It was just like, well, it's Baylor, and he didn't have a good year. So it's going to be interesting. Now, Casey Toohill, I don't know about him. He pretty much could have went undrafted in 2020. He was like I think he was the last pick for the Eagles back in 2020. We'll see what he can do as well. James Trent Williams, he is probably one of the strongest players on the team. He's one of the strongest players at NC State. So, but his development kind of seized up after his freshman year. Shaka Toney, a lot of people think he's going to stand up and play linebacker. So
yeah,
I don't know. That edge rusher, that is it's a huge fall off.
Oh yeah.
After our guys, like we don't have any medium ground, so it's like maybe you look into bringing a veteran in here, and like you said, Adrian Claiborne's out there. I think Ingram is still out there too. So you can put a lot of these guys who are outside linebackers. You can put them in a 34. You can put these guys and get their hands in the dirt. I mean, you did with Ryan Kerrigan, and he did all right.
Yeah, and let's say hi to some people. What's up, Sam? Shout out Antonio. One thing, I don't think Ron and company have made many mistakes since, they, took over. But one mistake, and, who knows, if William Bradley King or Shaka Toney or any of these guys turn out to be studs, or not even studs, serviceable backups, then, I'll be wrong. But I think not re-signing Ryan Kerrigan was a mistake in my opinion, or not re-signing or not signing a backup edge rusher with, some pedigree was a mistake, because, they could have gotten Kerrigan for very, very cheap. And, yes, Kerrigan said he wanted to get more playing time, but I mean, he went to Philly where they got Brandon Graham, they got Derek Barnett, and Josh Sweat all in front of him. That's three players that are in front of him. So in Washington, he would have two players in front of him on the depth chart, because he's obviously going to get more playing time than, Shaka Toney, William Bradley King, at least at edge rusher, in my opinion. So I think that was a little bit of a mistake, because, he's a good culture guy. He's been with this team for his whole career, and, he can still get production. I mean, he had 6.5 sacks last year, 5.5 sacks in barely any time. But it is what it is, and who knows? Maybe one of these guys that they drafted or they had last year will turn out to be a surprise, or maybe they will bring in someone before preseason.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to.
Do you think that not re-signing Kerrigan was a mistake, or it's for the price? They it was like $2 million or something like that. Something like that.
I think Ryan Kerrigan was gone before in the middle of last season, so I don't think.
The thing is, they told him at the start of free agency, we're not going to re-sign you, and there was reporters that were saying that he would have come back, and the thing is, I think he realized, at the end of the season, like, I am not a good starter in this league anymore. Like, I will be lucky if I get a starting spot. So I think he was starting to realize that he was probably going to be a backup, and I think he was fine with coming back. But they didn't want him gone, or they didn't want him back. So we'll see if it's a mistake.
Yeah, like I said, I think that ship had sailed long before they even got to that point. He wasn't coming back. I think probably middle of the season. I think the writing was on the wall that he was not going to come back. And, there was a lot. I mean, you can even look at some of his press conferences back in, I think, like April of last year. It was kind of like, he's like, yeah, I'd like to come back. But, if like he was kind of beating around the bush. So he kind of looked a little defeated and like he was just ready to, kind of move on and get back to the starting job, because it's first time in his career that he wasn't a starter. So,
Yeah, and it does suck that we don't have him because he was a good player for us for a while, and he's a good guy to have, especially at a position of need at backup edge rusher. But if those guys can stay healthy, or if they can not catch the virus, then we'll be fine. And we're not going to talk about the vaccination stuff too much, but the news came out, and we're not going to talk about it, like I said, too much, but the news came out a couple of days ago that Washington and the Colts were the two least vaccinated teams in the NFL with under 50%. And that's kind of weird to me, just because Ron kind of said that, oh, we're super close to 50%. And that was like a week or 2 weeks before mini camp was over or something like that, like a week or two before, and it's been like a month since that happened. But we'll see. It's gonna be, I just don't want players missing games, and there's gonna be teams that have 90+% rates, and they're not gonna miss games, and the NFL set rules up to where it's just a disadvantage if you're not vaccinated.
Right, and it's gonna be really interesting to see, because, like you said, the NFL puts some rules in that they're not encouraging. They're not necessarily encourage or telling people you should do it, but they're pretty much bending your arm without actually telling you, because you look at some of those rules, like you got to test, you got to do all these other
And
things.
like you cannot, like, if you're come in contact with someone who had it and you weren't vaccinated,
Right.
then you can't play. And
Yeah.
that's not the case if you are vaccinated. That's what the NFL put out.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really interesting to see. Especially, I think you think there'd be more added motivation to do it because of Ron and him being a cancer survivor and everything. So we'll see. And we don't know. This was an anonymous source that said that reported to AP, and then there can always be some hit or miss there with the anonymous sources. I always find it interesting that anonymous sources don't want to come forward on that. But and Ron, and Ron said I think all the staff is vaccinated too, but it's just coming with the players. So,
and one thing I'll say is that I feel like Ron is one of those guys that isn't going to force something on someone if they don't want it. Like, I don't think he's pressured. Like, I think he wants these guys to get vaccinated, obviously, because he thinks it's a good thing, and also he thinks that it's a disadvantage. But also, you see these coaches like Andy Reid, like the guy, or he said, like, right after the thing about Montez Sweat came out, he said, like, these guys, they're getting vaccinated if they want to play. But so I don't think Ron's a coach like that. I think he's letting these guys decide what they want to do. But yeah, we'll see how this transitions into training camp. Yeah, we'll see. Let's go ahead. Tyler C says, do you guys think that Charles can get the starting job at left guard? I think, I'm not necessarily saying he's the favorite at left guard, but I definitely think he has a chance. I think each of the three guys that are competing for that left guard spot, Sadiq Charles, Eric Flowers, and Wes Schweitzer, can get that job. And I think if Sadiq Charles is healthy, then he has a chance. He definitely has a chance, but he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw last year that, it was 2 plays and he was done. We saw he had issues during training camp too. So, I Sadiq, come on, wake up, buddy, wake up. We need you. We need you. We need you out there. And I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be Sadiq Charles. I think Eric Flowers is going to be the guy who jumps out and is going to be starting left guard. I think our more concern is who is going to be the backup right guard. That is going to be the biggest question, because we know Brandon Sheriff's going to miss a game.
The thing is, though, Wes Schweitzer can play left guard and right guard. And then Sadiq Charles, I think he played 4 different positions in college, so I assume one of those was guards, so I think they'll be fine there. But yeah, Schweitz or Sheriff, I mean, it's pretty much a done deal that he's going to be gone for at least one game of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one point real quick back to the vaccination thing that Armin Brown brought up that I think is a good point is that last year Washington was the best team in terms of how they handled the pandemic and how many players caught the virus, and that's great. I think if they can keep that same you know the same thing that they were doing last year, then it's fine. But the thing that's different with this year is since some players are vaccinated and some aren't, there's rules set in place to where if you're at a hotel and you're vaccinated, you're allowed to go out and go to the club. The players who aren't vaccinated aren't allowed to, but they might be tempted to do so. And that's where it might, kind of mess with them. But we'll see. Last year, like you said, they were one of the best. Matt Ioannidis was the only one who got it, and Javon Leake, and I don't think he was on the roster yet. So I mean, they did a great job last year, and let's hope they can do it again. Let's see. Talon Ho says the right guard is my concern. I want someone to replace Brandon since he doesn't want to play in Washington anymore. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds. They probably will need a replacement eventually, but this year, Sheriff will be our starter.
For while he's healthy.
Yeah, while he's healthy, he will be the starter. So let's see. I think Washington football team's Twitter account posted this, and real quick in the comments make sure you guys post some questions right there in the chat. But I'll go ahead and put one up right now. How many sacks do you think Chase Young and Montez Sweat will put up combined?
24.
24?
Let's go 24.
I'm going to say I think Montez will be pretty much right around where he was last year. let's say 8.5 to 11 sacks. I think that's what he'll be at. Especially, if he misses some games, it'll be down a little bit. I will say, I think so. Montez, let's just say 10 for him. I'll say 10. I think Chase will get I'm right where you are, 24. I think 24. Let's see. MOVMN 77 said 25 plus. Duke says 30. Woo. Hey, if we get 30, if those two get 30, ooh, man,
Lord have mercy.
Our defense is gonna be nasty. Let's see. James says 20 to 25. Townhouse says 25 plus. King Sean, my guy, says 24.5 sacks. And yeah, I mean, could happen. Chase, if he has, he's the. I kind of gave it away, but guess what rank he is in terms of favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year? I kind of gave it away.
I'm gonna say he's the top. He's the favorite.
No, he's the third. But I mean,
third.
If you think about it though, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack, T.J. Watt, if you think about it, Chase Young had 7.5 sacks last year and 4 forced fumbles. He definitely played better than those numbers showed. But to have him third already, that just shows the respect he has around the league. What's up, Door Gunner? Appreciate you for coming in. Yeah, let's see. And yeah, we were just talking about Gunner, how many sacks we think Chase Young and Montez Sweat will, get combined. So put that in the chat. Let's see. I saw a question right here. The unknownism says, who starts at defense? So pretty much, what is our starting secondary? So, and real quick, we got 50 plus people in here. Make sure you guys subscribe to me and to Corey. I'll put his link in again. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Hit that like button on this stream and hit that bell as well. So I'll say if we got 3 corners and 2 safeties on the field, I'll go. This is tough. You know what? I have faith in Benjamin St. Juste. So let's go Benjamin St. Juste, William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, And then safeties, I'll go Bobby McCain and Cam Curl.
Okay. I'm going to go, and this will be just to start it out the season. I'll go with Kendall Fuller, William Jackson. On the outside, I'll go McCain, and I'll go Cam Curl. Now, and I'm not saying that can't change because of Benjamin St. Juice, but right now, I think day one, that's going to be your start. I think that'll be your
start.
start.
So how many corners did you have? You had Kendall
Fuller. I had two.
Okay.
So do you want me to give you a slot guy too?
Yeah, give me a slot guy. Or yeah.
Darryl
Roberts, Jimmy Moreland.
I think Jimmy Moreland make it over Roberts if it came down to it.
Yeah, I think that could be an option right there. So I want you guys in the comments, because some people someone said Moreland could get cut. So said, do you think Moreland will get cut? So I want to hear everyone in the comments. Give me your surprise cut. Like, who you think, like, who is the Adrian Peterson of last year? No one thought AP was getting cut, before training camps got started, and he got cut. Morgan Moses already got cut. I would say that definitely is the surprise. Bostic is a potential option, if Davis is ready. But what I'll say is they have no linebacker depth, so I think Bostic stays. What is it for you, Corey?
Ooh, See, I'm trying to think of the craziest cut there could be, and all these cuts don't make sense. I mean, they're crazy. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. It's probably not gonna happen. Let's just go with it. Number 26 is gone.
Landon Collins?
I mean, he'll probably. My inkling is he'll start on the PUP list, but
that's what I think.
But let's just say that would be the surprising cut.
All right, you guys want to hear my surprise cut?
Go ahead.
This is like very, very surprised. Like, I think he will make the team, and I think he has a good chance of being a starter. But I mean, it's a surprise for a reason. So I'll say Eric Flowers. Like, I don't think.
Wow.
I don't think he will get cut. I think he has the inside track of being a starter. But if you think about it, they gave up a 7th round pick swap to get him, and they're not paying. They're only paying, I think, a third of his salary this year. So if he's not looking good, if he's looking like he did last year, and Sadiq Charles is fully healthy and he's looking like a beast, and Wes Schweitzer looks like he did last year, then maybe they do cut Eric Flowers. I still think he's going to make it, just because, like, who would make it over him? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're going to keep – yeah, I mean, he would be – yeah, I think he's going to make it, but it's a surprise cut for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have said Morgan Moses would have gotten cut in January, like, no one –
yeah, we would look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I think that's more crazy than Eric Flowers getting cut. But I think Eric Flowers will make the team, though. Just throwing something out there. Let's see. Peyton Barber, someone said, and that definitely could happen. For me, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise cut, but I think Peyton Barber definitely could get cut. And yeah, it's going to be hard to cut Collins just because of his contract. So I just hope he starts on PUP. I don't want this drama of him versus Cameron Curl. Who's the starting strong safety? Don't want that. If he's fine, if he is fine playing all over the place, playing some strong safety, playing, some inside the box, some I'm not saying linebacker, but you know what I mean, like inside the box a little bit more, and some at the big nickel position, then I'm fine with him playing, but I do not want him starting over Cameron Curl as strong safety.
Yeah. I think Cameron Curl has proven that he is the better of the two, just with his youth and his ability. I mean, his ability to be coached, too, if you think about that. I think that's the biggest thing. Landon says He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do that. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to be here. So
yeah, and yeah, Ron does not like guys that are not bought in.
no.
So I think he will be gone after next year. So Gunner bought it up another one. He says Bobby McCain, and that could be one. And I'll throw another one out at the safety because one of the guys is going to get cut unless they do start with Landon Collins at the pup list. I'll say DeShazer Everett, and I like him.
I definitely
I like him. But what I'll say is Derek Forrest and DeShazer Everett are very similar in terms of what they bring to the table. Both good special teams players. I think he was a captain at Cincinnati.
He was.
As well. Everett is a captain on special teams. They can both play both strong safety and free safety. So if Derek Forrest is looking like a beast on special teams early on, then they might be able to cut DeShazer Everett. We will see, though. Again, it's a surprise cut for a reason, but I mean, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise for me because I've been saying it for a minute.
Yeah. And it's kind of key too. You talk about him being a captain. Special teams is where Derek Forrest made his bread and butter at Cincinnati too. So you kind of take that away from DeShazer Everett, who's coming off an injury as well, and who's on the bad side of 25 now. It's gonna. I think that's very logical. That could happen. I think that's actually a good one, Pedro. I that would not surprise me in the least, especially with Derek Forrest in there. I think he's a carbon copy of DeShazer Everett, man.
Yeah, I think so as well. Gunner says, "Can we cut Dan Snyder?" I wish, but yeah, it's gonna be a long time, and unless he does something else, like 30 more years of this, and then after that, his son's gonna probably have a team, unless he does sell it. So we're stuck for a while, but we'll see. I hope Snyder learned from learned his lesson, but obviously he probably didn't because he's done a lot of stupid things in the past. And still thinks he's a GM. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I mean, you would think after literally drafting Haskins at 15th overall, and Haskins got cut before the second season even finished. Like that should show him how dumb he is. Like show Snyder how he just should be gone. And as long as Washington keeps winning, then I think that Snyder will continue to stay away. But we'll see the real test once if Washington starts losing in the next couple years.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but we got at least another year of Rivera having full control. Same thing with Jason Wright. I want to hear. I have not talked name too much in a while, so give me your kind of name, your thoughts on the name situation, what you want, what you don't want. Yeah.
I don't care. I really don't care at this point. I just want a name. I don't. It's as long as it's something that borderline makes sense, because I know a lot of people are going to hate it at first. It's going to take an adjustment time. It's just like with Washington football team, right? It's kind of, it was like, oh God, Washington football team. But now you're kind of like, it's not bad. It's got a certain ring to it, right?
Yeah.
But
give me your number one choice. Like if you had to pick, I know you got one.
I really don't, man. I guess
you got one that you don't like, that you like just a little bit more than the others.
I hate presidents. I hate monarchs. I hate a lot more than I actually prefer. I could go with like wolves, red wolves, or something like that. I don't think it's gonna be red wolves. I think it'll be more like wolves or anything. But don't call it like the wolf pack or something. Just call them the wolves. If you're gonna do that, I don't like red tails. I've never been, and it's not because of the significance of the name. It's because of, naming a team is a lot like naming a kid. Like, I feel like this is what parents go through. It's like, well, oh, we're going to call you. Oh, what are kids going to make fun of them? They're going to say, oh, are you going to call your kid this? They're going to, yeah, our kid's name's going to be Tammy, right? Oh, it's Tammy Two Toes over here. So, I think you got to do that right there. So red tails, I think there's a whole bunch of jokes you can make with that one. I do. You know what? Presidents is okay because if you score a touchdown, they just play dead presidents all the time. I kind of like that. But no, seriously, I guess Wolves or Red Wolves would be good.
I'll say my number one is Wolves. I think I definitely am good with Red Wolves. I think it's solid, but I think it's a little bit I think the red is a little forced. I know there are Red Wolves, but I think I think Washington Wolves just sounds a little bit better. You got that alliteration right there, Washington Wolves. I like it. And there's some other ones that I don't hate. Washington Renegades is all right. There's a bunch of all right names, but for me, it's just get it done. Like I will be so upset. I will be I honestly, I know a lot of people hate the Washington football team name. I actually am not a huge, I don't actually hate it that much, but I will be so upset, super, super upset if we keep that name. And here's why. You spent a year and 8 months with all, saying you're doing all this stuff. You're involving the fans. You're all this research, everything, and keeping everyone, out of loop. We're wondering, this whole time, what is the name going to be? And if the name ends up being Washington football team next year in February, I'm going to be like, why didn't you just tell us last July? I'm not saying, I'm saying last July 2020, because that's what you named them then. Just keep it. I'm okay if they keep Washington football team because, I mean, it's less work. That's the thing. We went from Redskins to Washington football team. That was a big transition. Now I'm going to have to go to Washington football team to Washington Wolves or Washington Presidents or whatever it is. That's going to be another transition. I think, honestly, Jason Wright, I don't know, because yes, he's getting a pulse of what the fans think, but he also wants to, get what he likes. And he said on JP's podcast that he wanted Warriors. He wanted Warriors. So that's kind of a basic name. You know what I mean? It's not anything too fancy, but I think it's I don't know. Maybe that's the direction he's going. I just don't want something totally random. I think one of the options that he had was Washington Belchers or something. That would be so, so, so bad. Yeah, we'll see. I just want it done. I know they're taking their time, but it's just so much I don't know. I wish they could get it done.
Yeah, it just here, I'll give you a spoiler alert. They already know what the name is.
Yeah, probably.
They know what the name is, because you got to think about this. I'll never forget. It's like when you go through a company acquisition, they know who's going to be buying the company before they announce it, a year ahead of time. Most of the time, they know what the team name is. They know what the logo is going to look like. They probably know what the uniforms are going to look like next year, and that's just pretty much where it's going to be at. So I imagine when they gave those names out, Fox 5 did the names, and I don't really even know if those were the names or those were just names that they heard and they they're doing what Abe Poland did with the Wizards back in the day. They threw out a lot. They threw out 4 names. They said, "Oh, the Wizards, the Bullets are down to these 4 names." They knew, and the story was that they knew they were going to go with Wizards. They knew that from the jump, but they just wanted to see how the feeling was out there in the community. It's the same thing. I think that when they talk like Jason Wright, that excuse about the Warriors was kind of I don't know. I just it was something about that explanation that was just kind of it was just like blah. And I was talking to Nati one day about the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, which when they were in Philadelphia, they were the Philadelphia Warriors, and they had a Native American guy as a mascot. So what you really had to do was flip that over time and change it, and they got to keep the name Warriors. They changed the narrative on it.
Yeah.
It still is a Native American based name, so maybe that's where Jason Wright's coming from in that situation. But it is what it is. And I like I said, this is getting exhausted, but I just love how it charges people up every time. There's oh my God, a new name's coming in 2022. We knew this in October. It's nothing like they said this was happening. Everybody's just like acting brand new about it. Whatever. Yeah. It is what it is.
So we're going to go ahead and end the stream in a few minutes. And I was going to do this anyways, and I saw Lloyd say it. So he asked, what are your thoughts on Wes Unseld Jr. being the next coach of the Wizards? So I'll talk about that for a few minutes, and then we'll call it a day. I appreciate everyone for coming in, and I appreciate the support. It helps out the channel a ton. So I like I like the hire. There was a couple guys that I wanted, but I think Wes Unseld was, one of my top choices. Obviously he has a history in DC, a good defensive mind, was a scout here, was an assistant coach here, and he also obviously coached with the Denver Nuggets for a while. So I like the hire. I really, really do. I think, and obviously he has history. His father, obviously Wes Unseld, the best, bullet player of all time. So I think it's a good hire. It's a new guy. It's not some guy, some coach that was already, a retread. It's not a retread. He has never had a head coaching job in the NBA before. So we'll see what he can do in Washington with Bradley Beal, with Westbrook, Denny Avdia. He said he's looking forward to you, or not. I don't think he said it, but it was in an article that he really, really wants to use Denny Avdia differently. And I think they definitely need to do that, because Denny Avdia is not a spot-up shooter, and that's what they had him doing, catch and shoot threes pretty much every time. He's more of a ball handler. That's what they need him to do. What do you think about Wes Unseld?
I still think they need to blow the team up. I think Tommy Shepard has shown his ineptitude throughout this whole coaching hire. This is not the best. This is not the best job in the world. Granted, this is why we were the last. That was the last team, and I think the only reason why Wes Unseld Jr. either took the job or they hired him is because of who his daddy was. I'm not saying he's not a he's not a great defensive mind or anything like that. I mean, we've seen that in Denver as they were pretty good defensive mind and good defensive sound team, and that's something that Scott Brooks and the boys could not do. They could score for days, but they could not defend anything. I think they'd score 120 points and give up 140 a night. So I think people were thinking the Wizards are close. I always ask them, I said, to what? They haven't been good. The Wizards haven't been relevant for last 3 years. And, I think it's time that you need to adjust this roster. I think that they need to seriously think they've got to have some serious conversations about either the future of Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook being there. I really do. I think that is a key conversation they're going to have. Now, I'm not going to say trade the guys or something, but you got to have that conversation, and maybe that conversation is going on. So
yeah, I mean, I obviously don't think the Wizards are a top 4, even 5 seed team. I think their ceiling, if Westbrook, Beal, and Hachimura next year takes a step, maybe they could get the 5th seed. Maybe their complete ceiling is a 4th seed. And that's if everything goes right. I mean, the Knicks were a 5 seed last year. It is the East, but for them to go far, they're not going to be with this team right now. They're not going to be able to go to the Eastern Conference Finals unless Hachimura becomes an all-star and even Denny Avdia takes a step up. But, we'll see. They probably got another year of deal before they have to, make a decision. Westbrook's on the books for a few more years. So, yeah, we'll see. Appreciate you all for coming in here. Appreciate Corey for coming on the stream. We're, 10 days away from training camp. It's going to be very, very interesting. I cannot wait for that. Going to be really fun. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for some more videos. Peace.